Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my ranking of the 10 worst movies of 2017. Yuck. Overall, 2017 was a great year for films in my estimation, but that doesn't mean we didn't have more than our fair share of clunkers. And yeah, there actually were a lot of bad movies this year. But these are the 10 movies that I thought were worse than all of the rest. This ranking is based purely on my own personal opinions. So no box office numbers, no Rotten Tomatoes or critical scores are taken into account. It's purely my list of what I think are the 10 worst films that were released theatrically in 2017. So no straight-to-video or rental type of situations here. Theatrical releases were the only ones counted. So let's go ahead and jump right into my ranking with number 10. The Mummy killed off an entire would-be franchise. That's right, we had so many potentially awesome films to come in the Universal Monster universe, but thanks to this film being horrible and underperforming, that's not to be. But beyond that, The Mummy itself deserves to be on this list, because it's just not very good. At the least, we were hoping for like a Mission Impossible film with a mummy coming in and terrorizing us. What we got was just like a boring, small, slightly offensive movie. The action was bleh. There were no scares to be had. The ending was just stupid. And the beginning depicted American soldiers literally dropping bombs on people in the Middle East to go ahead and steal from them. I don't know that it gets very much more offensive than that to me personally. You add in there's just highly uneven tone with the shoving in of Russell Crowe's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's all just a hot mess. At least it looks pretty, right? The Circle was another film I was actually anticipating. The cast looks great, the concept seemed good, people love this book, and then I get into the film and I'm just like, ugh. First of all, the film is just kind of boring. Nothing is happening, I'm not interested in what's happening, I don't really care what's happening. But then, the biggest crime that this film commits is that it thinks it's really intelligent. It thinks it's really saying something about social media and about Big Brother watching and big government and control and transparency. But even as we're going throughout the movie, it can't really keep track of what it's trying to say. And then we get to the end and it does a complete 180 on the message it was sending just 5 minutes prior. And that blew my mind and completely blew this movie out of the water for me. And that solidified it having to be on my list. The fact that it completely switched its stance on transparency at the very, very end and then tried to be like, kumbaya, yay, it's all good now, killed me. The actors all did what they could. It looked professional enough. But there's few things to me that are worse than a movie just passing itself off as this pretentious, intelligent film when really, it's really dumb. Unforgettable was one of the most forgettable movies of 2017. The only reason Unforgettable actually doesn't make its way further up the list is because it pretty much delivers what I knew it was going to deliver heading into the film. But although my expectations weren't that high, it managed to lowball even those. Because this was a legitimate Lifetime film that found a release into movie theaters. Yes, we had people in the cast like Rosario Dawson, but it's so over the top. It's such schlock. It's so dramatic. The writing is terrible. The acting is not good across the board. And the plot is literally ripped off straight from a Lifetime film. So maybe this could have found a way to skate its way out of being in the top 10 worst movies of the year if it had at least elevated itself and felt like a theatrical version of a Lifetime movie. But this literally felt like something I should have been watching at home on Lifetime on a Saturday night. So we have Father Figures, another raunchy R-rated comedy for the books. And like so many of those raunchy R-rated comedies, this one wasn't very good. The premise itself just reeked of misogyny. It just already reeked of sexism and shenanigans right off the bat. Add into that your typical homophobic jokes, all of the slut-shaming style things, really awkward, like terrible banter about kids talking about their mothers, like sexual exploitations. It's all a mess. And although it has a good cast, most all of them are just wasted or sleepwalking. But the biggest sin from this film is that it's just not funny. The laughs are not there. There's maybe a couple of chuckles throughout the entirety of the film. There are no laughs to be seen, no matter where you look or where you go. Plus, that whole Terry Bradshaw segment was just horrible. It kept doing really outlandish stuff that you think, this has to be a dream sequence, right? Like, we have to be getting into daydreaming. Nope, that's actually how they played out the plot. It's dumb, even for R-rated, raunchy, bro-style comedies. And when there's no laughs to distract from how stupid it is, it lands in the 10 worst movies of the year. Wish Upon marked yet another unprofessional mess of a horror film that somehow got released into movie theaters. This film reeked of amateur filmmaking, from the script to the filming to the editing, direction, all of it just lacked a certain level of professionalism that you expect when you're watching a movie inside of a movie theater. But beyond that, our characters are horribly unlikable and stupid, including and especially our main character, who in most cases we're supposed to be rooting for. We're supposed to be hoping she finds a way to solve all of this. And instead we're just like, you're evil. Like, you're a horrible person and sorry about it. But it rips off much better movies such as Final Destination or Wishmaster, and like throws all of these other tropes from horror films into this complete mess of a story. The script is a disaster. Wish Upon just had me wishing I had never seen it once I left the theater. So we have another male-led raunchy comedy in Daddy's Home 2. A lot of other people have been much more lenient in their critique over this film than I have, but I really did not like Daddy's Home 2. First of all, it's so played out. It is just so old, stale. There's nothing fresh about this movie, like, at all. All of our subplots are complete and total nonsense that we don't care even in the slightest about. But to go one further, they involve children sneaking alcohol and getting drunk, involves their parents stealing and getting caught shoplifting. It involves these kids then being gun-ho to go shoot something and end up shooting a human being. It's insane. Like, who thought this made for a good, positive Christmas movie? Then we have this child romance and all these parents like encouraging these little kids to start making out under the mistletoe. It's just a mess. It's a mess. And then we get to this third act, kumbaya, like break out into song. Oh, I wanted to throw up. It was so schmaltzy and foolish. I couldn't even handle it. So Daddy's Home 2 lacks the laughs to make up for so much offensive foolishness that just like reeked of old school smarmy sexism. I wasn't here for it, not even in the slightest, and that's why it's my 5th worst movie of the year. But Snatched had it beat when it came to horrible, raunchy comedies of the year, because this film had literally no laughs to be seen. I was looking high, low. You had Amy Schumer, you had Goldie Hawn, you had Wanda Sykes. There should have been something to go off of here. Instead, we're doing horrible intestine jokes. Our characters are just so dumb. The whole catalyst of this entire film is just so dumb. The adventure portions of the film are not exhilarating. They're not funny. They're not fun to watch. It was actually kind of painful to sit all the way through this film. I just kept like checking my watch, like, when are we getting out of here already? I didn't like Snatched, like, at all. Rings marks yet another sequel that took way too long to get into theaters that nobody even asked for. And this one happened to be particularly bad. This was completely void of scares, with blech special effects, and a complete change of the backstory of Samara that we had already learned in the previous Rings films. They just threw all that out. Said, nah, we're gonna make up our own. Let's forget that any of that ever happened. Predictable, jump scare, mess. The acting was bad. The premise, again, was so played out, but played down also, that Rings was just offensive in its presence. The fact that it even existed, that they thought they could bring back this franchise this poorly, was offensive in and of itself. That was the scariest part about it. Usually, the Transformers films aren't bad enough to make my worst of the year list. Like, I usually am not offended and, disgusted enough to put them in the list. But the last night was the straw that broke this camel's back. I was mad leaving the movie theater. I was so annoyed at what it is that I just watched. This is an over-bloated mess. And this is 5 films into a franchise that we continue to hope finds its footing somewhere, anywhere. It is a hodgepodge full of bra ideas. Filmmakings like OG bro himself, Michael Bay, of Sir Lancelot, throw it in there. Transformers fighting Nazis, yeah, stick it in. And don't you forget the homophobic and sexist jokes. Gotta cram those in too, right? The stakes, non-existent. The action looks like all the rest of the action. The dialogue was just wretched. Completely horrible. The jokes were even worse than what we have been receiving from the other films in this franchise. Just nothing. Almost nothing worked when it came to Transformers The Last Night, other than making me angry and making me finally put a Transformers film on my worst of the year list. Before I unveil my number 1 pick for the worst movie of 2017, let's discuss a few dishonorable mentions that just missed this list. The Emoji Movie was offensive in the fact that it even existed, that they thought that they could be so commercialized that we needed an Emoji Movie product placement mess for children. Spark, A Space Tale was a shoddily put together, boring animated film set in space. I mean, come on. The House was yet another raunchy R-rated comedy that didn't work. It was impractical, it was dumb, and it didn't have any laughs. Plus, it asks you to cheer on this couple that are committing crimes. Pitch Perfect 3 was a hot mess. What in the world even was this plot? Going on a USO tour, and then you had this spy action segment, all of these subplots that didn't matter or didn't work. Talk about a terrible finale for the franchise. The Mountain Between Us was a schmaltzy, poorly written romance. Set on a mountain with 2 great actors doing everything within their power to somehow elevate the material. And besides those 2, the only redeeming part about this movie really for me was the fact that the dog lives. The Hitman's Bodyguard is the honorary number 11 on this list because it doesn't pull off a comedy very well, and it doesn't pull off an action film very well. The sets all look horrible, the special effects don't look very good, and there's almost no laughs to be had here. The Bye Bye Man beats out all other films on this list because it seems like a university student's class project. The professor said we have to turn in a full-length feature film, and this is what they handed in, and probably got a C on it, because at least it's completed, at least it has somewhat of a story and something there, but it's still not even near the best of the class. What a mess. It rips off things like Candyman and turns them into non-scary, poorly written, horribly shot mess. They try to add special effects in here with a hellhound that look disastrous. Our characters are exceptionally stupid, and the plot just is all over the place. The Bye Bye Man is such a shoddily made film that more so than even some of these other horrible looking movies that almost made the list or were further down, I am baffled that this found a distributor to pay the money and front this to get it into movie theaters. That is insanity. And of course it was the first horror film released in 2017, and it made me want to give up on my long-standing love of the horror genre. Through thick, through thin, through the good, through the bad. I love this genre, but the Bye Bye Man started me out on such a horrible note that it made me want to just get rid of the genre, say, you know what, I can't put myself through this any longer. So those are my picks for the worst movies of 2017. What do you think of the list I put forward here? Do you also hate these movies? Do you like any of these movies? And what does your personal worst of the year look like? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. Also, if you liked this video, please hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!